Hey guys, this is Jen Frost with Faith in Fabric. Welcome back to our channel. We have been doing a series lately on spring cleaning. It's springtime here in San Diego, and there's so many little things in my quilting studio, probably yours too, that are just really in need of some maintenance. Now we've taken a look at how to clean our irons. Mine's up here, and I'll actually stick a link up here for how to clean your iron. My iron is like brand new. I feel like it's just like it was when I bought it a couple years ago. So that's a great tutorial to check out if you haven't already. We've also looked at how to clean our slow steady glider mat. I'll pop that link up here as well. Again, a great tool when you're free motion quilting. Today we're going to take a look at how to clean our cutting mat. Mine is back here. It gets a lot of use, probably like yours does, and it's kind of gross. I'm going to air my dirty laundry, and I'm going to show you some of the stains on mine, some of the rings that have got to get cleaned up, and just some of that mess as we go through. And we're going to talk about a couple different things today as we clean. First, we're going to talk about how we're going to clean our mat. And then second, we're going to talk about long-term care and maintenance. So that way you hopefully won't find yourself in the same position of, having a mat that's kind of getting old or warped or just really stained and dirty, okay? So materials-wise, you're not going to need much today. All you're going to need is an eraser, just a regular old eraser. I'm actually going to be using this little seam fix. These are great. I'll pop a link in the comments to them. These are actually used to, when you rip a seam, to get all those little loose threads off, but this works great also on getting the threads off of your cutting mat. So you need some kind of eraser. You're going to need some vinegar, not too much, but maybe say about 2 cups. And you're going to need somewhere where you can soak your mat. So let's talk about soaking it real quick. If you don't have a huge tub at your house, you can always use your sink, and you can soak your mat half at one time, half at the other. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But let's head over and we'll take a look at my dirty laundry, my cutting mat. So I'm glad we're all friends here because this is my nasty cutting mat. You can see I have got loose threads up the wazoo coming out of here that need to be cleaned. I've got some kind of stain over here from some really dark fabrics that I was working with. They kind of made this dark stain on my mat. I've got, I don't even know what these are, just kind of ick. And then if I tilt the camera, I've even got some nice little coffee ring marks on my mat because that's where my morning cup of coffee tends to sit. So we're gonna take a look at how we're gonna clean this mat. And I really wanted to give you this view so you can see where we started and where we're gonna end up by the end, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come through with our eraser. Again, you can use any eraser you have on hand. I like this little guy. Again, this is that little seam fix. This guy is meant to, like I said, get rid of those loose threads on the block when you rip the threads out. But he's gonna work great on this too. So let's get started. First thing you'll do is you'll see all these loose little threads. They're hard to kind of get up with your finger, but if you use an eraser, do you see what they'll do? The eraser just sticks to those threads and it's gonna pick them right up. You see how they came right off with that? So you're just gonna kind of do an all over cleaning with your eraser. Well, that was easy. So the first step is done, and you'll see if I hold this up, these are all the threads. That's a lot of threads. Threads probably isn't the right word, more just loose pieces of like fabric threads, if you will, that have come off of my mat. And so we've got first step done. Now we're gonna head over and we're gonna go soak our mat. Welcome back to my bathroom. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and I have filled my bathtub with cool water, about 3 inches deep, 3 to 4 inches. You don't need this real deep because you're just gonna be soaking your mat. Now I have a huge mat here. I'll pull it up. Not gonna be able to see the whole thing because it's pretty big, but my mat is 36 inches by 24 inches. So this is very large. My bathtub is not gonna be able to soak this whole thing at the same time. And I'm not putting it in the hot tub, don't do that. But we're just gonna take half of it. We're gonna soak half on one side and then we'll flip it in about 30 minutes and we'll soak the other half. Now I have added some vinegar. You see, I'm just using, what is this? This is 4 Monks white vinegar. You just need a white vinegar mix, the same thing you would cook with. And again, you're gonna do about 1 cup of vinegar to every gallon of water that you have. So let's take a look at once we put our mat in the tub. So here's a look into our bathtub here. We do have a pretty large square tub, and you'll see though that even though it's pretty large, my mat does not fit all the way in. I'm gonna tilt the camera down a little bit so you can see here. You'll see about half of my mat is actually submerged in the water, and the other half, the dirtier half, is still sticking out. But we're gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes and then we'll come back and flip it over. You know, I got to thinking, since my cutting mat is getting some nice rest, relaxation, and moisturizing, we should too. So I will be taking a break with my cutting mat. I'll see you in 20 minutes. So my mat and I are both back from the spa and we are both feeling so much more moisturized and cleaned. So honestly though, what that soak that we just gave our mat does is it re-moisturizes the mat. You know, over time plastic really dries out and that's when it starts to get really brittle. And giving it that soak in that light vinegar, that like slightly acidic base is going to give it that opportunity to reabsorb a lot of that moisture. You know, you think about your own skin, you're always putting lotions on and really caring for it. And we need to do those same kinds of treatments with our mats because they're gonna dry out too. And when you'll know your mat is starting to dry out is because when you're running your rotary cutter over it, it's gonna start skipping a lot, it's gonna start jumping. You just want to avoid that. You want that mat to be that real soft, self-healing material that it was when you bought it. Now we're gonna go over it and I'm gonna show you how my mat looks. It looks a lot better. You know, we've gotten all those loose threads off and we've gotten a lot of the moisture added back in. That soak also took off a little bit of the staining, but there's still quite a few stains on my mat. So I've got my very trusty magic eraser. I love these things. These are safe to use on your mats. So we're gonna head over and I'm gonna show you some of those stains and how we're gonna take those off with the magic eraser. So you'll see overall the mat itself is a lot cleaner. There's none of those loose threads because those are gone, and a lot of the just overall ick is gone from having soaked it, but there are still quite a few spots. You can see I've got some darkening here. I've still got this big ugly stain over here. So I've gone ahead and I've just gotten my magic eraser damp and I'm just gonna go over and try to scrub some of these off. And you'll see what that's doing. It's kind of making a little bit even more of a dirty mess here because the dirt's coming right off. So you can just have a little towel handy and we're gonna go ahead and scrub this together. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of elbow grease is what that was. I can really feel that in my shoulder. But you know, our mats look amazing, probably decently good compared to where they were before. Now, because these are tools that get used a lot, you know, mine's never gonna look like it did when I first bought it, but it's definitely feeling different. You know, I don't have loose threads on there. When I run my hands over the top, that almost dry, brittle sensation is gone. It feels very re-moisturized. It feels nice and smooth. This is a practice that I know for me, I need to keep up more often. So now that we have our mats in a good place, let's talk about some really important tips on how to keep them that way. First, you don't want to leave your mat in heat. You don't want to put anything hot on top of it. This includes laptops, hot drinks, and coffee. Second, speaking of heat, you don't want to put your mat in direct sunlight. The sun will continue to warp your mat, and this includes leaving it in your car on a hot sunny day. Third, always keep your mat flat. Don't stand it on its edge. You'll want to put your mat underneath a flat surface if you're not using it. And lastly, don't roll your mat for a long period of time. It'll end up warping it and it'll crack. So we can use these tips now to keep our mats in better shape than they were before. I hope you guys have had a good opportunity to clean your mat. I hope yours looks hopefully as good as mine does. And we will see you in the next spring cleaning video. If you've enjoyed this or you've gotten any tips, we would love a like. Thank you for subscribing and we will see you soon. Happy sewing.